Hell. This word alone seems to echo in our minds, awakening an almost inevitable curiosity. But what really attracts us to this dark concept? It's as if the unknown is calling us, sending a chill down our spine, and leading us to ask what exists beyond this world. Throughout history, each generation seems to have felt this pull, like a flame that never goes out. Perhaps it is the promise of mystery, or the fear of the eternal that makes us question, reflect, and, sometimes, even fear. Click like, subscribe to the channel. It will only take a second, and you will help us a lot. And it's not just personal curiosity that keeps hell present in our thoughts. Culture and religion amplify this impact, making the topic come to life in sermons, conversations, works of art, and even in our deepest nightmares. Imagine, then, the weight of believing in a place of eternal suffering, where souls are punished without forgiveness. Religions around the world have painted scenes of this place of fire and despair, leaving marks on our psyche and transforming the idea of hell into something more than a simple allegory. But why is this so important to us? What makes us dedicate so much thought to hell? Maybe it's the human instinct to seek answers, to try to understand what cannot be seen. After all, the prospect of eternal punishment touches on the essence of morality and ethics, and many seek comfort or warning in these images of a dark end. Thus, hell becomes a metaphor, a reflection of the choices we make in life, a kind of mirror of what we fear in our darkest actions. And between one interpretation and another, the image of hell remains something frighteningly fascinating, leading us to reflect on our existence and the destiny of our souls. Who has never wondered, even if for a brief moment, what would happen if everything they said was real? And so, we are taken on a journey of questioning, where each step brings us closer to this mystery, shrouded in fire and darkness. The first mentions of hell appear as ancient whispers, tracing roots in texts from civilizations that tried to decipher the final destiny of the soul. Among the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Greeks, each people had a vision of an underworld, a place where the dead faced judgment, or were led to eternal rest or suffering. Through these stories, we realize how much the fear of the unknown has shaped the human imagination since the beginning, transforming hell into an irresistible and dangerous mystery, which still intrigues us. Over time, the concept of hell evolved, crossing seas and mountains, adapting to the values and beliefs of each new civilization that touched it. In some cultures, it was a place of purification. At others, a realm of endless torment. This transformation reflects how perceptions of sin and redemption were refined. For example, the passage from the Greek Hades, with its punishments and rewards, to the Christian hell, shows how the concept absorbed deeper layers of morality and divine judgment. And the influences didn't stop there. In sacred texts and mythologies, hell was depicted as a divine response to human errors, but also as a place of learning and transformation. In this mix of beliefs, we see the strength of fear and hope interacting, as if hell were more of a starting point than an end. Imagine the impact of these concepts on the mind of someone living thousands of years ago, without concrete answers, just with the certainty that something beyond awaited at the end of life. Thus, hell took on a life of its own, an idea shaped by the histories of each civilization, as a reflection of its own shadows and virtues. And as we continue exploring its origins, new questions emerge. How has this vision evolved over the centuries, and what does it still hold for us? The concept of hell in the Bible is surrounded by powerful images and descriptions that challenge our understanding of suffering and divine justice. In the Old Testament, we find passages that allude to a dark destiny for the wicked, a place of destruction and distance from God. However, the descriptions are vague and often symbolize the consequence of earthly choices rather than a physical place of torment. It is in this universe of metaphors and hidden messages, that hell begins to take shape as a symbol of spiritual separation. When we move to the New Testament, Jesus' words bring a new layer of understanding about hell, evoking images of a lake of fire and weeping and gnashing of teeth. His message, however, seems to focus more on warning against the path of evil and less on immutable condemnation. These passages have opened the door to a series of interpretations over the centuries, reflecting the different perceptions of what hell represents in the Christian journey. Within Christianity, hell was interpreted in different ways by various denominations. Some views see hell as a state of mind, an absence of God, while others defend the idea of a literal place where sinners are punished eternally. This plurality of interpretations enriches the theme, showing how the Bible can be read in ways that reflect different aspects of human and spiritual experience. Thus, biblical hell launches us on a complex journey, where each verse is like a small piece of a larger enigma, involving fear, redemption, and the mystery of faith. And as we explore these texts, a question arises: is hell a concrete reality, or just a metaphor that reflects the inner conflicts of the human soul? Art and literature found hell to be a fascinating and inexhaustible theme, generating representations that profoundly marked the human vision of this dark place. Painters, writers, and poets used their works to give form to the indescribable, transforming the fear of the unknown into something visible and almost tangible. From medieval murals to Renaissance paintings, the image of hell takes on vivid and impactful contours, as a way of warning and teaching about the dangers of sin and perdition. Among the most iconic representations is Dante's Divine Comedy, where the author takes the reader through 9 hellish circles, each one more terrifying than the last. The work, in addition to being a literary landmark, profoundly influenced the Western view of hell, presenting figures such as Lucifer and tormented sinners in a detailed and almost cinematic way. Each of Dante's circles represents a specific sin and its punishments, creating a moral and symbolic vision that resonates to this day. Visual art also brought this concept to life, with artists such as Hieronymus Bosch and his work The Garden of Earthly Delights, where hell is portrayed with grotesque realism, full of scenes of torture and bizarre punishments. These images challenge our perception, evoking fear and fascination simultaneously. In many cases, they were used to indoctrinate and create a visceral connection with the audience, almost as if viewers were facing a fragment of hell itself. Thus, art and literature constructed a collective imagination that transforms hell into something beyond religion. It becomes a part of the human experience itself, a constant reminder of the choices we make. And as we glimpse these representations, a question persists. To what extent do these images shape our fear of hell and what it really represents? The concept of hell is not exclusive to Christianity. In different religions around the world, it takes on varying forms and meanings, reflecting the cultural and spiritual background of each tradition. In Islam, for example, hell is called Jahannam, a place of torment reserved for those who reject the faith. In Hinduism and Buddhism, there is a cyclical perspective, where suffering in hell is temporary, part of a cycle of reincarnations that purifies the soul before a new life. These visions, although distinct, point to a universal human concern: the need for justice and redemption. In some cultures, hell is less an eternal punishment and more a process of purification, a place where the soul atones for its mistakes before reaching a higher state. In Buddhism, Naraka is a temporary realm of suffering where accumulated karma is resolved. This concept of temporal purification highlights the hope of transformation as a kind of second chance to start over. It is fascinating to observe how, instead of definitive condemnation, there is the possibility of redemption and spiritual evolution in many beliefs. Different views of hell also include interpretations that reflect one's own understanding of life and death. In ancient Egypt, for example, the journey to the underworld included the judgment of the heart, a passage that determined the final destiny of the soul. In traditional African religions, such as Yoruba mythology, there is no clear division between heaven and hell, but a spiritual world where souls inhabit according to their actions in life. These variations show how hell is adapted to the values and principles of each culture, becoming an extension of their own norms of ethics and justice. Thus, hell in the world's religions is a rich tapestry of meanings, which goes far beyond suffering. It reflects the search for balance between justice and mercy. And when we compare these different beliefs, a reflection is necessary. What do these concepts tell us about our own vision of good, evil, and redemption? The idea of hell is one of the most debated issues in theology and philosophy, where belief and skepticism are in constant conflict. Many argue for the existence of a real hell as a place of divine punishment, while others see hell only as a powerful metaphor, a symbol of the separation between the soul and the divine. For believers, hell is not just a place, but a reality that reinforces the principles of morality and justice. While for skeptics, it is a social construction, a tool of control shaped by religion. And where does faith come into all of this? For many, believing in hell is an exercise in pure faith, a way of accepting that there is something beyond the material world that escapes our understanding. Hell, thus, becomes a constant reminder of the consequences of our actions, a destination that encourages the practice of virtue. But, as with all beliefs, there is a fine line between fear and hope, between respect for the teachings and questioning their veracity. Faith, then, turns hell into a mystery, something that cannot be proven, but only felt. From a philosophical perspective, many argue that hell serves a greater purpose, functioning as a moral guide in the structure of society. This view suggests that hell is less about an afterlife damnation and more about the ethical impact of the choices we make in the here and now. He forces us to reflect on what it means to be righteous, what counts as sin, and how our actions resonate beyond ourselves. In this way, hell becomes a mirror of our own conscience and moral responsibility. And, amid arguments and beliefs, hell remains a complex idea, leaving us with the essential question: is it a reality that awaits us, or just an illusion created to control and guide our lives? This doubt accompanies us throughout history, challenging us to look within and question our deepest convictions. Accounts of near-death experiences offer an enigmatic glimpse of what may lie beyond this life, especially for those who claim to have glimpsed hell. Some of these people describe terrifying scenes, with visions of flames and shadowy figures, and claim that they felt a presence that they believe to be the very essence of evil. These stories provoke us, making us reflect on the possibility of a place of torment awaiting those who cross the threshold of life, and on how these accounts may, in fact, reflect something real or just the imagination of a mind under extreme stress. For science, these near-death experiences are fascinating and mysterious, but they also raise questions about how the brain functions in moments of intense pressure. Researchers argue that these visions may be caused by chemical and physiological reactions, the brain's last-ditch effort to make sense of a critical moment. In many cases, sensations of heat, darkness, or even the presence of frightening beings are attributed to the release of substances such as dopamine and endorphins. Yet science still struggles to fully understand these experiences, leaving room for mystery. On the other hand, for those who have gone through these experiences, they are not hallucinations or mind games, but an encounter with something deeper and darker. They claim that these experiences transformed them, leading them to a life of reflection and behavioral change. For some, it was a call to spirituality, as if hell were a warning to mend their ways. This aspect of near-death experiences adds a layer of meaning, showing how the concept of hell can impact our view of life and death. And given these reports and explanations, the question remains: are we facing a supernatural truth, or just reflections of our own fear of the unknown? With each story told, the mystery of hell grows, inviting us to explore, question, and seek answers to something that still defies our understanding. Hell is not just a theological concept. It resonates deeply with human psychology, touching on feelings of fear, guilt, and redemption. For many, the idea of a place of eternal torment serves as a mirror of the anguish and guilt they carry, projecting their own fears into a symbolic image. Thus, hell becomes a powerful metaphor, reflecting the internal conflicts we all face. Fear of error, the need for forgiveness, and the search for redemption intertwine, showing how hell can be both an imagined place and a representation of the emotional pain that torments us. In psychology, the concept of hell is seen as a way of externalizing suffering, allowing people to deal with their deepest anxieties. Carl Jung, for example, explored the idea of an inner hell where we project our own demons and struggles, symbolizing the dark aspects of our psyche. This psychological hell can be seen in the form of depression, regret, and feelings of inadequacy, making the fear of external hell often an extension of our own internal torment. Believing in hell can, for some, have both a positive and negative psychological effect. For those who see hell as a consequence of sin, it can act as a moral compass, guiding their actions in pursuit of a virtuous life. On the other hand, excessive fear of hell can lead to self-destructive behaviors, such as chronic guilt and fear of constant punishment. In these cases, hell stops being an abstract idea and becomes a source of real and immediate suffering. And as we explore these psychological aspects, a question remains: to what extent is hell an external creation or an internal reality that we all carry? Hell, ultimately, can be both a dimension of the afterlife and a part of us, reflecting the battles we face to find peace and redemption. Hell has found its place in pop culture, becoming a recurring theme in films, series, and music that explore its depths with an entertaining touch. In film productions such as Constantine and The Exorcist, hell is portrayed with impactful images, bringing fear and fascination directly to the screen. These films use horror as a tool, exploring the internal and external demons that inhabit our minds, while urging the viewer to question to what extent the concept of hell is real or just an artistic creation. In addition to cinema, hell also has its place in TV series such as Supernatural and Lucifer, where it becomes part of the characters' daily lives and even gains traces of humor, deconstructing the fear that surrounds this place. In these stories, hell is both a place of punishment and a setting where dramas and conflicts unfold, reflecting our own concerns and dilemmas. Pop culture then turns hell into a stage where fear mixes with fascination, attracting audiences of all ages. In music, hell also resonates with intensity, from classic rock to modern rap, where the idea of a place of eternal torment is mentioned as a metaphor for life's struggles. Bands like AC/DC, with Highway to Hell, and rap artists with dense and deep lyrics use hell to symbolize personal challenges and the tortuous paths we sometimes choose. This cultural appropriation makes hell accessible and close, as if it were an inevitable part of our collective imagination. And while hell remains a popular topic, it leads us to a curious question. Does the fear and attraction to this dark place say something about ourselves? In every work, film, or song, pop culture mirrors our desire to understand the unknown, mixing reality and fiction in an engaging dance. Hell has always been deeply linked to morality, functioning as a mirror of human choices and a warning about the consequences of our actions. This concept acts as a reflection of social and spiritual norms, where each action is measured with the weight of eternity. Many believe that hell is a form of divine justice, a proportionate response to those who challenge morals and ethics. In this way, it stops being just a place of suffering and becomes a symbol of what is at stake in our daily decisions. Discussing hell is, essentially, questioning what is considered good and bad, fair and unfair. Some people believe that hell represents a divine justice that surpasses any human understanding, while others see in this concept a moral weight that encourages good actions. In other words, the fear of hell is not limited to the idea of punishment, but extends to the value we give to our attitudes and how they resonate in the lives of others. It is as if each step is accompanied by an ethical dilemma shaping our character. The relationship between hell and human behavior is complex. For some, the idea of eternal punishment serves as a motivation to act correctly, as a moral compass that points to the path of virtue. For others, this view is oppressive, representing a type of control over individual choices. This conflict shows how hell touches on a fundamental question: are we good by nature or out of fear of consequences? This reflection makes each person face their own morality and what they consider to be true. And as we think about the role of hell in morality, one question stands out. Do we need the concept of hell to understand right and wrong? As we explore this idea, we realize that hell is not just about punishment. It is about the constant search for justice and the challenge of being better every day. Since the earliest religious teachings, hell has been presented as a powerful reminder of the consequences of our actions, especially in the context of religious education. In schools and religious institutions, hell is often used as an element of moral teaching, helping to shape the behavior of children and young people by emphasizing the value of good over evil. This pedagogical role of hell teaches that our choices carry weight and that the search for virtue is fundamental. It, therefore, becomes not just a lesson about the afterlife, but about life itself. However, the impact of teaching about hell on children can be controversial. For some, the image of a place of eternal punishment can generate excessive fear, which remains throughout their lives and influences the way they perceive the world. For others, hell teaches the importance of moral responsibility, encouraging reflection on what is right and wrong. This mixed effect raises the question of to what extent hell should be addressed in religious education and how this topic can be presented in a way that inspires virtue without provoking anguish. Over time, the educational approach to hell has changed, especially in cultures and societies more open to religious dialogue. Many religious schools, for example, began to teach hell in a symbolic way, focusing on the idea of distance from God and goodness rather than a place of literal suffering. This change reflects a new view on how to teach hell without imposing fear, but promoting a mature understanding of the consequences of actions and the importance of ethical living. Thus, hell in religious education becomes a topic that goes beyond doctrinal teaching. It is an invitation to think about morality and the impact of our choices. And the question remains, what is the best way to teach hell to new generations without losing the purpose of learning and reflection that it carries? The concept of hell raises some of the deepest and most complex questions in philosophy, touching on topics such as the existence of evil, divine justice, and free will. Philosophers since ancient times have debated whether an eternal hell would be compatible with the idea of a just and kind God, or whether it represents a form of eternal injustice. This debate is not just theoretical, it leads us to question basic principles of morality and the limits of individual responsibility. Thus, hell is not just a mythical place, but an ethical and existential enigma that challenges human thought. The existence of hell also raises the issue of evil. If God is all-powerful and all-kind, Why would he allow the creation of a place of eternal suffering? This dilemma leads to reflection on the nature of divine justice and how far it extends. Philosophers such as Immanuel Kant and C.S. Lewis have reflected on this question, suggesting that hell may not be so much an imposed punishment as a natural consequence of an individual's choices. This view makes hell a reflection of human freedom itself, where the choice to move away from good leads, in itself, to a state of suffering. Another crucial point is free will. To what extent do we have the power to decide our own destinies, including what concerns hell? For many philosophers, hell symbolizes extreme freedom, the result of our choices without divine intervention. This perspective suggests that hell is not so much a condemnation as the consequence of our autonomy, an expression of full responsibility. This understanding places hell as the outcome of our own story, a destiny chosen by each one. And among these reflections comes the eternal question: is hell a reality that awaits us, or a moral construction that guides us? Hell, thus, transcends the field of myth and becomes an invitation to introspection about good, evil, and what it really means to be free. With advances in science and technology, our view of hell has undergone a transformation. In an increasingly secular world, the concept of a place of eternal torment is questioned and reinterpreted, often being seen as a symbol rather than a physical reality. This new context raises debates about what hell represents for modern society. Is it a remnant of a past full of superstitions? Or does it still hold an essential truth about our choices and consequences? Hell, then, adapts to an era of disbelief, but also of the search for meaning. At the same time, science offers new perspectives that challenge the traditional understanding of hell. For example, neuroscience explores how the brain works, questioning whether experiences such as guilt and extreme fear associated with the concept of hell are just chemical reactions. This scientific look demystifies hell for some, while at the same time opening space for a more metaphorical and psychological understanding. It is as if hell is now inside the human mind instead of a physical place that awaits us after death. Still, hell continues to play a role in contemporary discussions about morality and ethics. Even though it is seen as an archaic concept by many, it remains relevant as a metaphor for the consequences of our choices. It's as if hell represents the dark side of human freedom, a reminder that our actions have weight and meaning. In this sense, it becomes a kind of moral legacy, an echo of the lessons passed down through generations. And as we move away from the literal concept of hell, a question emerges. Are we losing a form of spiritual guidance by abandoning this traditional view? In an ever-changing world, hell in the modern era makes us reflect on the extent of our responsibilities and the impact of a life without fear of the unknown. Stories of people who claim to have experienced hell bring a new layer of depth and mystery to the topic. These testimonies, full of vivid and terrifying details, recount experiences ranging from visions of fire and darkness to encounters with shadowy figures who personify evil. For those who lived these experiences, hell stopped being an abstract concept and became a reality that transformed their lives forever. These reports lead us to reflect on the border between the imaginary and the supernatural, between fear and faith. Many who have gone through these experiences speak of a lasting impact, a change that led them to rethink their behavior and values. Some say that these visions were a call to abandon a life of mistakes and seek spiritual renewal. Others see these moments as a warning, an opportunity for a fresh start before a final destination. This transformative effect shows the power of hell as a force that can shape lives, inspiring those who witness it to seek a new direction. These experiences also raise an intriguing question about the search for meaning and understanding. For many, hell is a metaphor, But for those who claim to have experienced it, it is an indisputable reality. These personal testimonies make us question the nature of the human experience and the need to find a greater purpose. Perhaps for these people, hell represents a second chance, a milestone where they can redefine their lives. And as we listen to these accounts, one question persists. Are these testimonies glimpses of a greater truth, or just reflections of our own fears and regrets? Hell, in this context, becomes a personal and collective enigma, which challenges us to look within and beyond, seeking answers in the unknown. Hell is often imagined as a place of eternal punishment, but some spiritual traditions and religious interpretations see this concept as a space for transformation. For these views, hell is not just a condemnation, but a phase of purification, where the soul faces its failures and learns from them. It is as if, by going through this experience, the soul can free itself from its mistakes, redeem itself, and reach a higher state of understanding. This idea of transformation leads us to see hell with different eyes, as a place of renewal and growth. History is filled with stories of redemption and life change that show how suffering can be a catalyst for personal transformation. In various religious and mythological narratives, those who have faced hell, whether literally or figuratively, return as new people with a deeper insight into life and their own actions. This round-trip journey symbolizes the capacity for learning and adaptation, where hell becomes more of a process of self-knowledge than an end in itself. Even outside of religion, the concept of hell as transformation appears in our lives in subtle ways. Difficult situations, moments of loss, and extreme suffering can often lead us to reevaluate our choices and seek a better version of ourselves. Thus, hell becomes a metaphor for the difficulties we face, a reminder that even the darkest experiences can teach and strengthen us. He shows us that, just as fire purifies gold, suffering can also purify the soul. And given this perspective, the question remains, is hell really a place of eternal torment, or a stage in the soul's journey in search of plenitude? When we see hell as a space of transformation, it stops being a symbol of fear and becomes an opportunity for redemption, challenging us to see suffering as a bridge to light. The media plays a crucial role in how hell is portrayed, often amplifying the fear and mystery surrounding this concept. In television programs, documentaries, and reports, hell is often approached in a sensationalist way, with images of fire and despair, evoking a visual impact that marks the popular imagination. This approach arouses curiosity, but it also raises the question, to what extent is hell in the media a faithful representation, or just a way to increase audiences using fear as a tool? Furthermore, investigative journalism and documentaries have explored reports from people who say they have had visions or experiences close to hell. In some cases, the media presents these testimonies with a touch of realism, but without neglecting the dramatic effect, seeking to capture the public's attention. It's a delicate balance between informing and entertaining, where hell is both news and a narrative that fuels fascination with the unknown. Hell is also popular in sensationalist productions that seek to impact the audience through conspiracy theories and extreme interpretations. Horror films, series about the supernatural, and even debate programs use hell as a backdrop to discuss topics such as life after death and the destiny of the soul. This approach generates curiosity but also distorts the perception of hell, transforming it into a media construction that is more dramatic than spiritual. And faced with these representations, the reflection arises. Are we really trying to understand hell, or are we just consuming a superficial and amplified version of it? The media, when dealing with hell, invites us to question what is real and what is produced, challenging us to separate truth from entertainment. The concept of hell has always been a powerful tool, used not only by religion, but also by politics, to shape the behavior of the masses. In different times and cultures, political leaders resorted to the fear of hell to influence and control their followers, associating obedience to laws and norms with the destiny of the soul. This political use of hell was especially evident in periods of great social tension, where the threat of eternal punishment served as a kind of invisible watchman, guaranteeing public order and morality. Many historical figures have used hell as a rhetorical device to strengthen their agendas. In political speeches, references to hell as punishment for those who strayed from the correct path helped solidify popular support and legitimize unpopular decisions. This strategy was a powerful weapon for rulers who saw religion as a strategic ally to maintain control. In this way, hell stopped being just a spiritual issue and became part of power strategies, manipulating human fear to achieve political ends. Case studies from times such as the Middle Ages show how hell was incorporated into public policy and punishment, especially in periods of conflict between church and state. In Inquisition trials, for example, hell was often mentioned as the destination of infidels, increasing the weight of punishments and justifying severe actions. This use demonstrates how the fear of hell can be manipulated to establish a system of justice that transcends the physical and affects the very spiritual essence of the accused. And, as we reflect on this manipulation, a question emerges. To what extent is hell a concept of faith or a construction of power? Politics and hell intertwine in a complex dance, challenging us to understand where belief ends and strategic influence begins. Science, although focused on the tangible, has explored the concept of hell in unexpected ways, offering theories that seek to explain the roots of this ancient fear. Many scientists analyze hell as a psychological construct, the result of fear of the unknown and the human need to deal with mortality. From a biological point of view, this fear can be seen as a natural brain response, a way of imposing moral limits that help with social survival. In this sense, hell stops being a place and becomes a control mechanism that evolved with humanity. Research in neuroscience and psychology also explores the impact of the fear of hell on the human mind. For example, studies on guilt and fear show that the idea of a place of eternal punishment can profoundly influence behavior, generating feelings of guilt, anxiety, and even existential angst. Scientists see these reactions as proof of how hell is a mental construction, the result of social and psychological pressures. Thus, hell, from a scientific perspective, is less about an afterlife destination and more about the impact of beliefs on mental health. Furthermore, scientists from areas such as theoretical physics and cosmology have addressed the possibility of alternative realities, something that many associate with mystical descriptions of hell. Although these studies do not confirm traditional hell, they open up space for new interpretations about unknown dimensions, suggesting that the universe may be more complex than we imagine. This dialogue between science and spirituality expands our understanding, showing how hell can be interpreted beyond dogma. And as science and religion continue to explore these questions, the reflection arises. Is hell just a human creation? Or is there something greater and still unknown behind this concept? Science, by challenging beliefs, invites us to maintain an open dialogue and seek answers in a universe full of mysteries. In modern art, hell has gained interpretations that go beyond traditional representations of fire and suffering. Contemporary artists explore the concept of hell as a psychological and emotional state, reflecting the inner torments and conflicts of today's society. In installations, paintings, and sculptures, hell appears as a metaphor for themes such as loneliness, anguish, and alienation, creating a dialogue between the external world and the hell that lives within each person. This renewed look makes hell a reflection of our contemporary struggles, where fear mixes with the search for meaning. Some artists use hell to discuss social and environmental issues, portraying the world as a place of destruction and despair. In exhibitions that evoke the apocalypse and environmental degradation, hell becomes a critique of our impact on the planet. Works that depict burning forests and ruined cities symbolize a hell created by humanity itself, a visual warning that we are heading towards a destiny of suffering if we do not change our attitudes. This interpretation makes hell a reminder of the price of our collective choices. In addition to the visual arts, theater and performance also revisit hell from new perspectives. Performances that explore isolation, violence, and injustice bring to light each individual's personal hell. It's as if the stage became a mirror of our suffering, where hell stops being just a place and becomes a lived experience. This use of hell in artistic contexts creates a deep connection with the public, making each person reflect on their own inner hell and what it represents. And as we witness these new interpretations, the question arises, is hell an eternal reality or just a mirror of our own human condition? Modern art challenges us to see hell with different eyes, as a symbol of the battles we fight every day and the shadows we seek to overcome. As the world evolves, the concept of hell also undergoes transformations, adapting to cultural and social changes. In an era marked by scientific advancement and an increasingly secular outlook, hell is no longer seen as a threat of eternal punishment and is becoming a more symbolic idea. This change reflects modern thinking, where hell can be understood as a state of mind, a representation of the internal struggles and ethical dilemmas we face. The hell of the future, then, may no longer be a place, but an introspective journey. Social changes also influence our perception of hell, especially with the growth of movements that question the role of fear and punishment in religions. For many, the idea of an eternal hell seems incompatible with the notion of a merciful God, and this generates a reevaluation of what hell really represents. In some religious communities, hell is being reinterpreted as a temporary state of separation from God, a phase leading to redemption. This new understanding leads us to ask whether hell is a concept destined to disappear or to transform. Still, hell continues to have a place in reflections on morality and justice, especially in a world where good and evil are constantly debated. For many, it is a powerful metaphor for the consequences of our actions and the importance of personal responsibility. In a future where beliefs may become more flexible, hell may survive as a symbol, a reminder of the price of freedom and the choices we make. It is as if it remains, not as punishment, but as a warning about the limits of our own ethics. And looking to the future, the question arises, will hell become a memory of the past, or will it continue to evolve with humanity? The concept of hell accompanies us as a reflection of our own shadows, challenging us to understand how far we are willing to go in our search for justice and redemption. Hell, with all its images and interpretations, is more than a simple idea of punishment. It is a profound lesson about life, morality, and the mystery of existence. Throughout history, this vision of a dark place full of torment has served as a reflection of human choices, reminding us that our actions have consequences. The idea of hell teaches us about responsibility, about the value of good, and the dangers of ignoring evil, showing that the path we choose to follow defines the destiny of our own soul. This understanding of hell also reveals the human desire for justice, where good and evil receive their due rewards. For many, hell symbolizes what happens when goodness is abandoned and values are corrupted. It acts as a reminder of the need for a balanced life, where the choices we make directly influence who we become. Hell, thus stops being just a place and becomes a warning about the search for meaning and purpose. In our modern society, hell continues to be a point of reflection on the internal battles and shadows we face daily. It is an invitation to introspection, a reminder that we all carry our own struggles and ethical dilemmas. This view of hell as part of the human condition helps us understand that true redemption is not in the absence of suffering, but in overcoming our failures and in the search for inner peace. And as we look at all that hell represents, the final question arises: is hell just a human creation or a truth that surpasses us? Regardless of the answer, he continues to teach us about who we are and what we seek, like an ancient story that challenges us to write our own destiny. Now that you have explored this journey through hell, the invitation is to reflect. What does this concept represent in your life? Is hell just a distant idea, or does it reflect something closer to your choices and convictions? Question yourself. From what you have learned, you can see how hell challenges our notions of justice, good and evil, and encourages us to be better. This is a time to look within and evaluate the weight of our actions, the responsibilities we carry, and the impact of each step we take. And if these reflections awaken new doubts, then the purpose has been fulfilled. Knowledge about hell is not an end, but a beginning, a starting point for debates and questions that go beyond what we can see. Exchange ideas, ask questions, share these views, and build your own interpretations. After all, what makes hell so fascinating is precisely the mystery it carries, the invitation to delve into themes that defy our understanding. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue this journey of discovery and understand more about topics as profound as this one. Each new video will provide insight that will further enrich your perspective, allowing you to explore the most intriguing questions about morality, religion, and history. And remember, learning is more than acquiring information. It's transforming what you know into a new way of seeing the world. Hell is just the beginning. The knowledge he brings us is vast and unfolds in every reflection and conversation you choose to start from here. Are you ready for this journey of self-discovery? Welcome to a universe where learning is infinite and answers are always one step away from your questions.
If you're interested in having a Bible like the one we use in our studies, check out the link in the first pinned comment. If you enjoy our content and can support our channel, consider buying us a coffee through Buy Me a Coffee. Additionally, if you can purchase a crucifix, we also have a link in the first pinned comment. We greatly appreciate your support. God bless, and see you in the next video.